Well, after months and months of begging for the Dream Demon himself, Freddy Krueger, to be reworked, we finally have it. You know, funny enough, Freddy Krueger was probably the most requested DLC y'all wanted me to cover, like, ever. So, you little shits better watch the video. But with that, I'm Chris from Genuine Chill, and I'm here to help you answer the question, should you buy the newly reworked Freddy Krueger? To start off, let's talk about Freddy's new ability set, and strap in, cause this is a lot to cover. Freddy's ability is called Dream Demon, where its passive ability will cause survivors to fall asleep within 1 minute of the dream timer activating. However, while awake, survivors cannot see Freddy unless he is within 16 meters of their location, but you can still hear his heartbeat while in the terror radius. Although between 16 and 32 meters, there is a chance for Freddy to be seen as he may flicker into reality for awake survivors. Finally, when survivors fall asleep, they enter the dream world, where Freddy can now directly manipulate them using his dream traps. Keep in mind, these traps will not affect awake survivors and only those who are in the dream world. Luckily, if you're in a hurry, you can actually just smack a hoe and send them directly into the dream world instead of waiting. What's unique about Freddy is he is the first killer with the choice of 2 different abilities. The first is his dream snare, where you could place them on the ground forming a pool of blood. When survivors walk over these traps, they will be slowed for as long as they are in the trap, along with a short period after they leave it. Another use for this is when the survivors walk over them, they scream and reveal their location to the killer. With Freddy's traps, you could place them in loop areas, effectively disrupting the survivors' movements to give you a chance to get a hit on them. You can also place them over windows and areas that would act as shortcuts for the survivors to either force them to slow themselves or take an even longer route. One thing I actually think people really sleep on is Freddy's basement game with these snares. Get it? Cause sleep on, and we're talking about Freddy, whose whole thing is sleeping people, so I'll just shut up now. Actually, you know what, I won't. When you hook a survivor in the basement, you can leave a trail of dream snares leading all the way down to the basement, making it take some time for the rescuer to reach the bottom. But as they do, they will scream multiple times, letting you know someone is going for the save, which leads into Freddy's other side ability. Freddy can teleport directly to unfinished generators after doing a charge up. Of course, after this, you will have to wait for the teleportation to be available again. If the basement has a generator in front of it, all you have to do is teleport to the gen, replace the traps as you go downstairs, and finally slap down anyone you see down there, possibly earning another body to join the basement party. Now, I've heard people criticize the teleport because, as I said, you do a charge up before you teleport. However, when you do the charge up, the generator starts spewing blood, alerting survivors that this is the gen Freddy is coming to. Because of this, people have said the charge up gives survivors way too much time to get a safe getaway, which is true, but I'll argue that that's not the teleport's true purpose. With the teleport, if there's a certain gen far away you know for a fact is being close to finish, you can easily teleport to that gen and prevent the survivors from completing it by regressing it. This makes Pop Goes the Weasel and Barbecue and Chili extremely effective on Freddy, because after you hook someone, you could see what gen survivors are working on, teleport to it, and regress it, knocking it back 25% with Pop Goes. Because the teleport has a cooldown, I won't say this is effective gen pressure, but it's still something to help you out when multiple survivors are on a single gen. But what if you have neither perk, or you have no interest in running them? Well, Freddy's teleport is very flexible in many situations because you can actually cancel the teleport. If you see a survivor in the distance working on a gen, you could do the teleport charge up and watch what direction they run off to, and cancel the teleport so you could cut that survivor off. Sometimes you'll be able to get them in areas that have little loops, or you could beat them to the loop altogether. Even during the chase, the teleport is useful if you could predict where the survivor is going. If the survivor is running to an area that has a gen and there's some good distance between you, I say you get out of the survivor's sight and teleport to the gen. By doing this, the survivor will be so concerned about where you went while looking behind them, only to realize that you did a nothing personnel kiddo on their ass and smacked them right in their face, effectively cutting off their path and getting an easy hit. Because of situations like this, I feel like the teleport is much more useful than most think. The only thing is, while it may not be easy to use it to sneak up on survivors, remember, you're Freddy Krueger, you're supposed to get creative with it. Now, let's go on to Freddy's other trap, the Dream Pallets. The Dream Pallets are only accessible if you have an add-on that gives them to you. Fortunately, there are 3 different add-ons with 3 different rarities to do this, so you'll have easier access to this than you think. Dream Pallets will totally replace the Dream Snares, so keep this in mind before you use the add-ons. With dream pallets, you can place fake pallets on the map, but unlike the doctor, these pallets are not put down, so survivors can actually drop the pallets, only to find out that it wasn't a real pallet, so you could go right up ahead and slash them for trying to put a dent in your skull. However, keep in mind, there is counterplay to the pallets. The dream pallets are like snares, and are only visible to sleeping survivors. If they catch onto this, the survivors can keep in mind what pallets are placed where when they're awake and will be less likely to fall for the fake ones. Early game, I found the pallets to actually be incredibly useful with plenty of survivors falling for them, but late game, good survivors will keep tabs on the pallets or even prioritize keeping themselves awake to negate your traps. So even though many people see the pallets as a better option, I will say they require more thought than you think, because otherwise no one will fall for them. To narrow it down, look at the dream snares as flexible traps with many applications, while the pallets are higher risk against experienced survivors, but give a higher reward when the survivors do fall for it, because you're practically given a free hit out of it. Okay, like I said, that was a ton to cover, but because Freddy's ability set, I will say he is one of the most flexible killers in the game when it comes to gameplay style, since you are given 2 traps that change his game plan depending on what you pick. Let's move on to Freddy's perks, starting with Fire Up. With Fire Up, each generator that's completed gives you a stackable token that gives you 3, 3.5, and 4% increase in speed when it comes to picking up survivors, breaking pallets or generators, and vaulting over windows. With a max of 5 tokens, you can be given a 20% increase in all of those actions, but keep in mind, this is a snowball perk, and to get the most out of this, you will be at the end game where gates are active and survivors are close to escaping. While it can synergize well with perks like Brutal Strength and Bamboozle, I'd actually recommend using those perks instead, since they give you their bonuses from the very start instead of having to activate it by losing generators. In theory, it could be a great late game perk, but personally, I don't think it does enough to run over the perks that give you those bonuses in those areas already. Next we have Remember Me, where you will become obsessed with one survivor, and each time you hit your obsession, you will increase the opening time of the exit gates by 4 seconds up to a maximum of 8, 12, and 16 additional seconds. Keep in mind, your obsession will not be affected by this perk, so it will be in your best interest to kill them, so they can't open the gates for the other survivors. This definitely is a situational perk because sometimes those additional 20 seconds will really make the difference between letting a survivor escape or being able to kill this survivor. In 1v1 situations, it's a powerful perk that can really put the last survivor in a losing position, but in a 3v1, it loses some of its power unless you can secure one down and then make this perk synergize extremely well with the Freddy's next perk. That perk is Blood Warden, where if you hook a survivor while the exit gates are open, Blood Warden will activate and block both exits for 30, 40, and 60 seconds, along with revealing any survivor's auras located within the exit. This is a perk that can totally clutch a game that you almost lost. For example, look at this little shit Claudette teabagging me at the exit gate, and notice how at this point I have no kills. From here, I was actually able to down the Jake and hook him, and while one survivor actually made the smart choice of leaving, 2 of them stayed to attempt to save, only for them to realize I have Blood Warden, effectively turning the game with no kills to 3 survivors killed at the very end. Pair this up with Remember Me, where it takes more time to open the exit gate, you are now given more time to down someone and wait for the gates to be open so you can activate your Blood Warden. While it is situational, it's extremely effective when it works, and it's rare when it doesn't secure you a kill once active. Plus, the satisfaction of hooking that one toxic dipshit that decided to stay so he could teabag you is always an incredible feeling. Well, that covers our favorite dream demon who may or may not be a pedophile. So we did a poll not too long ago, and our next Should You Buy will cover the absolute unit of a man, the clown. Keep an eye on our channel because after that we will have another poll to determine which previous DLC killer will get a Should You Buy next. Although at the time of recording this, the Stranger Things DLC got announced, so depending on my schedule, after the clown we might have the Stranger Things DLC, or after the clown we might have another DLC and then Stranger Things. It all depends because, like I said, I need gameplay time to properly give you the information on these killers. Also, if you have time, we are now doing Should You Buys for other games such as Fire Emblem 3 Houses and Bloodstained, with Astral Chain coming up very soon. As always, if you liked the video, you should like the video, And consider subscribing because we're a small ass YouTube channel and we really appreciate your support. I'm Chris from Genuine Chill, and thanks for watching.